Hey guys, this is Eric with Mediavine, and on this week's Go for Teal, we want to talk about ad category blocks and specifically how they impact your RPM and how you can kind of use these to improve your RPM. So, for those of you who don't know, here at Mediavine, we take ad quality extremely seriously. So, out the gate, we're going to block most bad ads. So, these ad category blocks I'm about to talk about aren't necessarily things you're going to need to block. So you can know that we have a default PG rating. We use awesome technology like sandbox safe frame to kind of stop things like pop-ups and malware and redirects. That's not the type of ads we're talking about. We're talking about good brand safe ads that you just happen to maybe dislike as a publisher. So we recognize here that we have over 5,000 publishers and everyone is going to have a different definition of what they consider good ad quality. So some of our publishers, for example, a food blogger who might be a gluten-free food blogger may want to block cereal ads because to them, that's a low quality ad. Or another example, maybe we have a gardening blogger that wants to do weed and pest control because they keep seeing Roundup ads appearing. So remember, when I'm talking about these ad categories, it's not saying you got to go in there and block pop-ups. This is talking about good quality ads. But we at Mediavine, again, recognize that a lot of our publishers may want to block this stuff, which is why this is an exclusive feature at Mediavine. For those of you who don't know, you can log right into your dashboard. There's an opt-outs tab under your ad settings where you can choose which of these directly you want to opt in and out of. So how do these things work? So let's take some examples. So political is one of the more common ones we see. So a lot of people want to block political ads. So you'd go into your dashboard, you would just choose political as an ad category you want to block. And now what's going to happen is that we're going to tell the various ad exchanges and our SSP partners that you want to block that category. Now under the hood, there's this thing called the Open RTB Spec. You don't necessarily need to know what that is, but that's how our SSPs communicate with the DSPs, or how the actual ad exchanges work. There's this Open RTB request, and in it they can say, the SSPs can say, block the following categories. So we're going to list now what's called the IAB category. IAB is the self-regulating body of the advertising industry. So they set kind of standards that everybody follows. So they're going to say block political ads. The SSP will say that to the DSP. So why am I telling you all this? Because the important part is you got to recognize it's going to fall on the side of the DSP, the demand side partner that we talked about, or demand side platform that we talked about last week, or the advertising side. So it's the advertiser who has to label their category and respect your settings. So we're going to tell them to block it, but occasionally then, as you can imagine, there are the occasional advertiser that maybe doesn't categorize their ad correctly. And that's why we offer a tool called Mediavine Ad Reporter. You'll notice under every single ad, there's a report this ad button. If you're blocking politics and you see a political ad, just click that report this ad button. What you're going to do is you're going to authenticate your Mediavine publisher, let us know, hey, I'm blocking political ads and I got a political ad. You're going to send it, and real life humans behind the scene at the Mediavine side are going to go and make sure that that's blocked. So I should caveat that some SSPs do categorize their own ads and are going to be a little bit better at this, but that's not the case, because remember, for every single SSP, because remember, there are millions of potential advertisements out there. So it's almost impossible to block them all, and that's why we kind of combine these two tools. The way of doing it, the OpenRTB standard, and then going in and manually blocking ads for you. Okay, so now that you know how it works, which ads should you be blocking? So as I'm talking about this tool, you're going to be surprised as I say, none. You really should avoid blocking any ads if you can. The reason why is because every single ad category you're blocking is going to cost you potential money. So in that political example I was giving before, political campaigns tend to spend a lot of money, as I'm sure you're aware. So let's go for a real world example. Let's say somebody is visiting your site and a political advertiser is willing to pay $4. But your next highest bidder was only willing to pay $3. By blocking that political ad, you just lowered your CPM $1 or 25%. That's costing you real money to do that. And so I realize that you're probably saying, no, I don't want political ads because maybe there's going to be a candidate that I don't support the policies of and they're advertising on my site. Yes, that can absolutely happen. But you got to remember how programmatic advertising works, and that's what we do here at Mediavine. Programmatic advertising works by targeting the user and not necessarily the site or the content. So advertisers are targeting a user that visits your site or any site on the internet. It's why you tend to see mostly the same similar kind of ads as you browse either a Mediavine site or even non-Mediavine sites, because they're targeting users, not necessarily domains or content. So if a political campaign happens to be targeting a user, it's more than likely because they know that user is maybe in a swing state, more likely to vote for their candidate. They're not going to be necessarily targeting you as the publisher or you as your website. It's not like that candidate is targeting just your website. So if a user is seeing that ad, more than likely it's personalized and it's targeting them for a good reason. And the same thing is going to happen with all those other examples I gave. So if you're blocking cereal because you're a gluten-free blogger, you got to realize that those cereals are only targeting who they see as their target demographic. If the ads don't work, they're going to stop targeting that user. So really the best thing you can do is let programmatic advertising do what it does best and target the users and eventually stop targeting the users it shouldn't be targeting. But of course, again, as we kept saying, these controls are ultimately in your hand, so you get to make the decision. Just be very careful when you're targeting the biggest spending categories. So as I mentioned, politics, you gotta look at things like alcohol, things like gambling, anything that you think is kind of a little more controversial of a topic, tobacco, guns and firearms, whatever it may be, those are probably gonna be where more of the money is. But again, we understand that some people don't want to maybe take money from some of those advertisers. Your choice, but if you want to have the highest RPM, you're going to want to opt in or opt out as few as you can. So thank you guys. This is our week's Go for Teal. Ask any questions you have in the comments. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys next week.